Hello friends, you know what? We are right before the rush of the gardening season. You can see things are still dormant outside. The grass has not greened up. The perennials are still slumbering. I have not cleared anything off the flower beds. But late winter is a great time to do any transplanting while certain things are dormant and young. I like to transplant anything that maybe I put in the wrong spot, or sometimes I put something somewhere just because I know I want it. I don't have the right spot yet, and then eventually I'm gonna move it, and that's what today is all about. We're gonna transplant, because I think transplanting scares a lot of us. We think it's going to really harm a tree or a shrub or whatever, and it can, but doing it at the right time of year and at the right age of that plant is really what's gonna be beneficial. So behind me, you're gonna see you can't see it too well because it's still dormant. I love to come out when it's really early and transplant something that is fully dormant. So this is a saucer magnolia, love it. I have 5 of them in a few spots. 2 of them are in the right location. 3 of them kind of need to be moved, or maybe, but today we're gonna move 1 or 2. And the reason I'm moving this one is I have picked a different ornamental tree for here, a north wind maple. It's a very hardy Japanese maple, very hardy, down to zone 4. It does really well. That's not gonna come more until April, closer to May, but I know I want to move this while it's fully dormant. So this does not even have its green buds yet. It has its buds that were left on from last year, but this is the perfect time before really that push of spring and new growth to move it. A saucer magnolia is really an ornamental sized tree too, but where I want to put it, I decided to have a kind of grouping of saucer magnolias. They're an older tree that can be hard to find still to grow, but I love these. This one's about now 5 foot probably in total. I just planted this last year. So it's only been in the ground a year. That's why I feel very comfortable transplanting it. I've transplanted things definitely after 3+ years sometimes, but the younger they are, obviously the easier it's going to be to transplant, because that root system isn't going to be too deep yet or have gotten too involved in the surrounding area. So right here you can see, actually, if you look closely, you can see the growth from last year. See how you have a hardened off, kind of more pale brown color, and then it gets this more beautiful amber brown color. All that's new growth last year. So it put on a lot of beautiful growth last year. Very healthy, happy plant. So I want to move it because obviously I want it to stay established wherever it's going to be permanently. So it's time to dig it up. So what I'm going to do is start with the perimeter. This time of year, I'm not too worried about having the other hole dug yet, just because we're sitting at a time where everything's dormant. I don't mind if this sits out of the soil for, a few minutes while I get the other area ready. Usually I would say have the other hole ready, especially if we're getting into a warmer month, so you can go plop it in right away, water it right away. We have lots of moisture in the ground, so I'm not worried about digging a nice ring around this. So I'm probably gonna go a couple feet out, if not maybe 1.5 feet out, and make a ring around with my shovel and just slowly start lifting it up. Obviously here, a sharp shovel, a good shovel is gonna be key. That's what's gonna make sure you're able to get into the soil really well. It's also quite moist, which granted, you don't want it to necessarily be muddy, but I would always rather have it be on the moist side than on a really dry side. When things are really dry, it's always gonna stress something more, even when it's dormant. So we're getting right now, while you never know what the weather's gonna do, we're still sitting at a time where this should be dormant for another month at least, if not a few weeks, which if we stay warmer, we're kind of unseasonably warm right now, that could change. But what I wanna do is just start going in and cutting around it. And like I said, this is only 1 year in this space, so it is not gonna have an extensive root system. And as I go, I usually just start by making a few nice cuts and lifting. I don't try to get it all out in my first shovel. I think it's important to know you wanna keep going around and just start slowly coaxing it out, lifting as you go. So if you'll notice while I'm going, you might hear that I'm cutting through a few what I think are smaller capillary roots, not cutting through main roots, but you will maybe cut a few roots, and that's okay. That's why we're doing it when it's dormant. The reason I like to slowly, gently work around in a ring and lift as I go is it slowly lifts up all of those roots. Slowly lifting all those roots as you go is gonna be better than just one side. If you lift just one side, you could damage some of the roots on the other side. You could knock off more soil than you want to, and that's really just not what we wanna do here. Instead, what we wanna do is go around, and you can see now, I'm getting a really nice ring where this is just kind of, I think, going to lift out quite beautifully and quite easily. Do you see how nice that is when I lift? See how it has a beautiful, close to probably 2.5 feet across. So what I'm gonna do, you can do different things. You can obviously, and I have done this many times, just walk it across the yard. Sometimes that can be hard, especially if it's a little heavier. So what sometimes I like to do is have a cart ready. This is just my garden cart. And I like to have it so I can just transfer this right into the cart. Now Kip here can help, but he usually more supervises. But this is gonna allow me, and notice I'm doing it from the base. I don't wanna necessarily get any of these sticks. And like I said, you sometimes have to be careful, you have to get help. Since there's quite a bit of moisture in the soil, it's gonna be heavy. And that's okay. So we're gonna do it together, lift with your knees. But do you see how beautifully that just came out of the hole? That's exactly what I want. Whenever I'm looking for a new spot for a tree, I'm lucky that I have a lot of space, but sometimes that can also be a problem because you have so many choices to put certain things. Now, granted, I'm starting to think, as things are growing, I'm noticing kind of my areas and what I want. What I decided over here is I have one already planted, just right off camera here. And I want there to be a few of them in this area. So I'm gonna put 2 here and then maybe 1 over a little bit. Because as you notice, it's kind of hard to see here probably, but in this space where I have this new pathway, there's a walkway that goes out kind of to more that prairie area. And I want that to always stay open and as a kind of visual eye line, kind of beautiful sight from the house and just from the backyard in general. So I'm gonna put one right kind of where my shovel is, and that's where we're gonna have then kind of an offsetting pattern of a couple of these over here. So the first thing though you always wanna know is what size does something get? That's if you're planting it new or if you're transplanting it. Now, this is a saucer magnolia. In my area, I'm zone 5B. They definitely have the potential to get like 15 to 18 feet tall with a canopy, kind of that wide too probably. They like to be a little bit protected here, I will say where I live. They can be a tree that's prone to certain damage in the winter and things. So having it in the backyard here as other things grow, I think will be good. And I do want these 2 canopies to slightly touch eventually. So you can see the one that's just off camera and the one here. Eventually, if they're healthy and grow happy, they will grow into each other. But the first thing I'm gonna do is just cut a ring of my grass sod out with my shovel to open it up. And then I can just start digging right in that spot. You can see I have the hole dug here, and I want you to see the size of the hole. So I know the old thing is to say, go double the size of what you're planting. I don't always do that. I find that to be a little bit more important when it's drier out. I think in these conditions and with the soil I have, which you can see, I'm again gonna say how lucky I am. I live in Iowa, southeast Iowa, and we have really great, rich, black, fairly loamy soil. It's very easy to work with. It holds moisture really well. It drains well in this area where I'm at. And this is just a great kind of spot. So what I will do though, is I'm gonna treat this like a new plant. I'm transplanting it when it's dormant, but I'm still going to do the same things to this that I would if I was planting it brand new. And that means, you got it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do biotone. So biotone, I love Espoma. I love all their organic kind of products they have, but the biotone specifically, I use on anything I'm planting or transplanting because it's just great starter food for that plant. And what I mean by that is it's not going to damage it, it's not gonna burn it. What it's gonna do instead is help those roots acclimate into the soil, and it's gonna help build the soil to not just feed the plant. All organic, I really love to use it, so I sprinkle it in the hole. I mix a little bit of it. You could also do some compost if you want to. I always say you could amend up to about 50% your native soil with compost. This soil here is really good. I will top dress it eventually with some mulch, but I'm good with this. You can see that is just near perfect. It's just about the same depth as it was, and just like any other tree or shrub, I keep that root flare right at soil, slightly above that soil line, because this is what helps the roots get the right amount of oxygen. If you bury it too deep, it's gonna suffocate the plant. They're gonna come up, start circling the plant, girdling a little bit. You wanna make sure it's set high enough that those roots go out laterally and down to the soil. I'm gonna be honest, by the way, Whenever I find a little grub, they're the little white worm-like things. Those are usually probably a Japanese beetle that is just waiting to pop out later in the year. I kill them, I do. If they're a grub, I kill them. Nothing beneficial is gonna be there. You don't find many, but sometimes you find a lot, and that's just get rid of them. All done. You can see I lightly tamped it with my foot, just enough to make sure you're not having too many air bubbles. So the important thing now is to make sure you water it. Obviously I have good moisture in the soil. It's still dormant. Those roots aren't active, but I'm not gonna water it so much for the roots as I am right now as to get any of the air bubbles out when we plant it. Obviously when you add the soil back in, you're gonna have air around them. And those little pockets of air can actually dry out roots later on. So watering it now just helps get out all those air bubbles. So that's one done. I will pick up the soil here that's left. And the sod you noticed I piled to the side because I'm gonna save it. It's good grass. I go put that in places where I need grass. So if I have a hole in the yard somewhere, you know, this yard I inherited, it's over 100 years old. And while I slowly dig up areas of it, I don't just get rid of it all at once because that would be kind of a burden too. So when I have spots where I need grass, I just go stick that in. But I'm gonna go do now the next one, so we're kind of framing out this area, which hopefully you can see. I'm gonna back up here so you can kind of see from a distance where these are planted. So this is the one I just got done planting. A little bit more of a quick kind of frame on that. But really what it's gonna do, if I back up now to kind of see, this is the entrance I was talking about. See those stepping stones? I wanna put a split rail fence across there with a gate, but I want that sight line to always feel open and like you can always see right through. And I like now that it's gonna flank from a distance magnolias on both sides, but still have this clear line of sight to it and through it. So eventually as these get big and they'll have a nice canopy, they'll get the big, beautiful, kind of pale pink white blooms on them in the spring. And then I just really like their leaves too for the rest of the year. So these are a multi-stem, you can tell. So they feel just like a shrub right now, but eventually they grow up more into a multi-stem tree. And that's what I'm really excited for. So we got these two moved. I might move one more, but I think for today that's good. Like I said, I'm gonna water them well, make sure to mulch them then, because obviously that's gonna help retain the moisture and suppress weeds all through the season. I hope you can see that really transplanting, it's not that hard. It takes a little bit of elbow grease, but don't be worried. If you put something in the wrong place one year, or if you just want to put something in because you were given a plant or don't know where to put it yet, in the next year, 2 or 3, you can move it very successfully. I like to do it when everything is dormant. You know, this is a great time to really transplant or split perennials too. And that goes for like these trees or shrubs I just did. It's a great time before things are really starting to try to push out new life for the year to transplant them into their space, treat them like a new plant, make sure to amend that soil as needed with compost. I love to add biotone like I showed you. And then just make sure to keep it watered all season long and maybe the next year as a new plant because those roots will not be fully established in that spot. It's a transplant, so it's really now a new plant. So I'm gonna go clean up my soil, my mess, plant in that grass, but it's kind of nice to slowly get a nice kind of slow start to the gardening season before the real rush of it. Feels good, right?